Hi, so today I just want to go through the first steps to get started with the S1 module. This will be installing all the development tools to get up and running and start developing with. Firstly, we can start by going to this link. This is on our GitHub page. And here you'll find in the README section all the things that you'll need to download and install. So we'll go through these one by one and show you how to do it. So we can begin by downloading the NRF5 SDK from Nordic. This is all the core files needed for the nRF52 chip. Everything regarding the Bluetooth and all of that stuff is in here. So this is what the NRF part of the project will be built on. So you can go to this link, click on downloads, have the latest SDK selected there. We can unselect all of the soft devices. The ones we need are already included inside this zip file, and then we just download that thing. Next, you'll just want to put that folder somewhere that's convenient. I put it inside the tools folder inside my home directory, and I will rename it to NRF5 SDK just to be a bit more easier to find. Now we'll look at installing all the different tools that we'll need for our development. So that's these tools here. I'll go through these one by one, explain what they do, and then we'll go install them. The ARM-GC toolchain is needed for building the nRF52 application. That's the Bluetooth chip on the S1 module, which is an ARM-based processor. So the ARM-GC toolchain lets you build that final binary and application. Out of the box, we support J-Link debugging and flashing. So the J-Link software pack is needed for driving the J-Link debugger. The NRF command line tools is simply a wrapper to the J-Link software. It makes it a bit more convenient to flash and erase the chip because the raw commands over J-Link aren't so straightforward. So the command line tools, these are made by Nordic. It's a little bit easier to use. Then we have the FPGA toolchain. Yosys is the synthesis tool that synthesizes your Verilog. And iStorm and NextPNR are what does the place and route and gives you your final FPGA binary. For simulation and verification, GTK Wave and iVerilog is quite useful for showing nice waveforms and doing simulations and testing everything will work before you flash the FPGA. Of course, many of these tools can be replaced with other things, so you're not constrained to using these. These are just a kind of out-of-the-box way of getting started. Of course, you could use a different debugging tool, in which case you wouldn't need the J-Link software or the NRF command line tools, but then you'll have to set those up yourself. You could use Lattice's own Radiant software, for example, for building your FPGA application. In which case you wouldn't use the open source workflow, you'd use your own workflow there. And of course you could use different tools for verification and simulation, such as ModelSim or something more sophisticated. But this is the sort of open source workflow that we're supporting. And this is also the fastest way we think of getting started at the moment. If you're on macOS, you can install all of these very quickly using our brew formula. So if you click on this link, it'll take you to the brew formula instructions. For the S1 module, you want to go down to the section that says ICE40. You want to tap the brew formula here. You can install NextPNR using this command. This also installs iStorm and Yosys at the same time, so it does all of the FPGA tools in one. You can also install a GTK Wave and iVerilog. You don't need this open FPGA loader for the S1 parts, you just need these two. You can install the J-Link drivers here, the J-Link software, the NRF command line tools, also from Brew, and as well as the ARM-GC toolchain can be installed from Brew as well. One thing to note, if you're on an M1 Mac, the latest version of the ARM-GC toolchain is broken. It doesn't run on M1. It will install if you run this command, but when you try to run the toolchain, it will give you a bunch of errors. So for now, we recommend just downloading the ARMGC toolchain if you're on an M1 Mac, and maybe in the future this will be fixed again. If you're on a Linux operating system, most of these tools should be available on your package manager, so be sure to have a look before downloading them. But if you want to run the latest version, you can very easily build most of them from source. On Windows, some of these are available as installers, but others require some more manual steps to get up and running, and we'll see those as we go through. So we can begin by installing the ARMGC toolchain. This link takes you to the ARM downloads page. The version we have currently linked here is the last version of 2021. This is the version that works on M1 Macs. The 2022 version currently doesn't work. So if you're not on an M1, you can go to the latest downloads under that section. But for now, you can, on M1, you should use this one. Here you can find the installers for Windows, the final tarballs for Linux, and the package installer for Mac. So once you have the ARM toolchain installed, you should be able to run the ARMGCC binary. And if you do version, you should see that works. What we want to do is run ARMGCC not from its full path, but as a short command like this. To do this, you might need to update your path configuration to include this folder. So make sure you can run this just as a single command. Next, we can install the JLink software. So if you go to that link, you can find the relevant installer for your system and download and install that. Same with the NOF command line tools. We can go to this link, and down below you'll find the option for your system and download the relevant version and install it. Once the JLink software and NOF command line tools are installed, you should be able to run NOF JProg from your command line. If that doesn't work, make sure your install folder for the command line tools as well as your JLink install directory for the JLink software is in your path configuration for your system. You can install Yosys directly from the homepage here on Mac, Linux, and Windows. For Ice Storm, you can go to this link, and there's some instructions below on how to get started. There's also binaries available on the GitHub page for this project. For NextPNR, if you're on Windows, you will need to use something like MinGW and install it as a package like this. And finally, you should be able to install GTK Wave from this link. It's available for Mac, Linux, and Windows. And for iVerilog, it's easier just to search for the installers, and there are some pre-made installers. And then you should be all ready with all the tools. That's everything you need. And next we'll just quickly test that these work. So we're back in the command line, and first we want to make sure that we can run the make command. On Windows, you'll again need to use something like MinGW to run these kinds of commands. Next, you want to check that Yosys works. That works here. NextPNR, also check that that works, as well as the Ice Storm tools. So again, we can see that works. So these are everything you need, along with the ARMGC that we already tried, as well as the NOF JProg. That is all the commands that you'll need to develop on the S1. In the next video, we'll look at how we drive these commands, not manually, but from an IDE such as VS Code. We can have scripts do it all for us. And look at setting up the first project and getting a Blinky working on the S1 pop-out board.